is that conditions will only improve when man rolls up his sleeves and digs in. It isn't going to fall into his lap like a ripe apple from a tree. Who would be more inclined to fight against the deplorable conditions we all see and experience in everyday life than those most convinced that there's no nirvana to follow and no loving deity presiding over the welfare of mankind who has taken humanity to raise like a beneficent babysitter in the sky? Religionists, on the other hand, are victims of precisely the opposite mentality, firmly believing a better world is coming and conditions are mainly improved by prayer and reliance upon a kind deity. They are far more inclined to write this world off as a lost cause, abstain from opposition to social injustice, avoid working for social improvements, and reject rebelling against unfair treatment. After all, they reason, if you only live 80 or 90 years in this world, why be so involved? In the long run, what does it matter? Don't worry about events. God will provide ends on its way. The of in social problems and the distribution by religious agencies throughout the world is directly proportional to the extent to which a religious group has left fundamentalism in general and the Holy Book in particular. Those close to religious superstitious mentality get the least aid and more often than not provide assistance more out of a need to ingratiate people to their religious ideas and make the latter more vulnerable to the message than any real concern for their worldly condition. Most Salvation Army centers, for example, will not provide food until those in need have willingly submitted to an indoctrination or a propaganda program. Of course, there are a few exceptions to these. One would be to an extent to use the rule. That's one of the most common tricks in the arsenal of all propagandists. They seize and magnify the exception in order to portray it as the rule. Make no mistake about it. Religious aid is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. Incidentally, in light of the fact that religious organizations are subject to very little financial accountability, how can we be sure that money donated to organizations like Save the Children, for example, actually reaches the children? What assurances are in place that nearly all the funds donated reach the destination intended, as opposed to enhancing the wealthy and affluent lifestyle of the philanthropic conveyors? After all, if vast sums are being siphoned off, we know the difference. The bottom line is that people work to improve conditions in this world in direct proportion to the extent to which they jettison their concern for the next, and vice versa. So who offers emptiness, hopelessness, and despair? One who tells you that the world reeks with injustice and deplorable conditions that can be improved or eliminated through work, involvement, sensitivity, and realistic thinking? Or one who tells you that the world reeks with injustice and deplorable conditions that cannot be improved to any meaningful degree, but only escaped? One who promises you a better world is coming based upon nothing more than an admittedly unprovable faith arising from a man-created book that is saturated with contradictions, errors, and fallacies. Speaking personally, my conscience is clear, my deeds are pure, my cause is just, and my advice is sound. And that's far more than can be said by those who created the Bible and the God it describes. That completes our presentation. And please join us later for the 44th edition of Biblical Errancy Commentary, when we'll continue showing why the Bible is nothing more than the flawed composition of some fallible human beings. Thank you for listening.